welcome to the House Bermuda, another Bernews News and Views. And today we have with us, obviously the lady to my right doesn't need no introduction, but it's Flora Duffy, our homegrown pride and joy. Welcome, Flora.
Thank you.
Steve Petty, who's president of the Bermuda Triathlon Association. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Don.
And Kent Richardson, a man of many talents, besides triathlon, involved in a lot of different sports. Welcome, Kent.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. I'm your host, Don Burgess, and today we're obviously going to be talking with our guests today about the triathlon, the MS Amlin Triathlon this week, and all the varied events. Flora, not that I want to speak on the general public, but we're a little disappointed that you're not healthy enough to compete in the elite women. How disappointed were you not to be able to compete in front of the crowd?
Yeah, of course, I was very disappointed to have to pull out of the race. I kind of knew probably about 5-6 weeks ago that it wasn't going to happen, and kind of delayed announcing because obviously I was devastated and didn't want to disappoint everybody because this is, such an incredible event. Obviously, it's my home race. Always look forward to it. It's like always circled and starred on my race calendar. So yeah, to announce that I will not be racing was heartbreaking, but it's for the best. I'm trying to look long term here and have much bigger goals on the horizon. So at the moment, it's all about getting healthy and then building up to Tokyo. But the good news is that I'm here. I get to be involved a lot more in the event than if I was racing. Typically, I'll arrive and I'll do 1 or 2 media things, and then I'm hiding in my hotel room. But now I'm here, I'm available, I'm doing a lot more, and so that's kind of cool and different to be on the other side, though I would much prefer to be racing.
Now you're doing a team event early Saturday morning with Mustafa, who's mostly known as a Red Bull sailor, and a young Bermudian girl, Taylor White.
Yeah.
And so how did you get hooked up in doing that, and how excited are you to at least participate a little bit?
No, I'm very excited. I think it's going to be kind of cool to be racing in the age group race. So I haven't obviously done that in a very long time. So, but yeah, that'd be really great. And I guess the news was out there that I wasn't racing, and then I discussed it with a few sponsors and the LOC, and that I'd be open to doing a team. And that's all I really know. And then I got the news back of who I was doing it with, and it's really cool. I think it's a really unique opportunity for us to race together, get to know one another, sort of involved in 3 different sports, and here we get to come together and 3 different, different levels and experience, and just go out there and enjoy the race and be part of the age group race. I think that's kind of cool for me, cool for the other age groupers racing, that they can see me out there, be racing with me, hopefully not passing me, but I'm doing the passing, but we'll see. So it'll be a really fun experience.
Yeah. Part of the interesting thing is there's 2 young Bermudian up-and-coming stars, they're racing with you, but the Triathlon Association just finished coming back from a lunch, and 2 of your younger triathletes were recognized at it. Why don't you tell us who they are and what they recognize?
Yeah, today was the awards for the government youth and sport sponsorship program, and this year a bit different. The funds were doubled, which is pretty amazing in these days. But this year each sport could put in a female and a male. It used to be just one athlete, but this year they decided to recognize that you could recognize both. So triathlon, we have a number of up and coming young kids with lots of promise, and also they're really well-rounded kids. So we have Nico Davis and Liana Medeiros were recipients of sponsorship to help them in their goals to improve with either equipment or to events overseas or to camps. So I think there were 27. Normally there's about 13 awards. This year it doubled. So that's great.
Yeah, that sounds outstanding. So how much money did they get, and what sort of things are they going to be using?
Everyone is in the region of between $3,500 to $4,500 each young athlete. And they had to specify, and it's reasonably stringent on what that funding has to be used for. And they have to prove, what they're going to do and what they've done. So it is really interesting and great to see this happening.
Now, triathlon through the Tri-Heads program seems to have a good emphasis on the youth, and besides Flora and of course Tyler Butterfield, you got to compete with Erica Hawley and
Tyler Smith.
Tyler Smith at the Commonwealth Games. Why has Tri-Heads been so successful in getting these young athletes and promoting them and making sure that they're trained properly and that they can succeed at the international level?
Well, Bermuda, I guess, sorry, Ken, is such an incredible place. Really, the climate is conducive to sort of triathlon training all year. There's so many good avenues. There's running, there's great cycling programs, and there's swimming. And it's never been my intention in being involved in triathlon to monopolize any of those. I think it's so important when a kid is growing up to do all of these different sports. Experience as many as you can. And then someday, Flora was, I think, initially a swimmer and then a front street miler, and got into cycling and realized that, you know, triathlon was probably, I think one time you were cycling at university for a while, but then realized that her best abilities were in triathlon, putting them all together. It's very hard. You have to be disciplined. So it takes an even more special person. But expose the kids to as many things as you can. And Tri-Heads tends to be fun. They usually try to go every year to an event overseas and make some fun with that. And so it's been successful. We've instituted in the last 2 years, because of the kids' duathlon on the Friday night, free clinics through the sponsors, Tokyo originally and now Renaissance Re. Free clinics at the National Sports Center every other Sunday for the past 2 months. And then the event is free. We're hoping to, we've brought a lot of new kids into that. But again, I stress, we're not trying to dominate any other sport. We want kids to have a well-rounded try at all of them. And if they're successful in triathlon, then we win. We don't want to be competing with the other sports.
You know, so working together. Kent, what's your experience with the Tri-Heads and
Well, I was thinking just, you know, back in the day, but as it started out there, I remember sometimes we used to take like anywhere from 15 to 20 kids our way. They used to dominate, I think, Mrs. T's in Chicago's. We took a bunch of kids out to Ralph back in the day, and for a while there, we were training, doing some fitness stuff. At that time, it was the Olympic Club, and we used to do that, Neil and I, and do some like strength training with the kids and everything.
Neil de Saint Croix.
Neil de Saint Croix. Okay. But I think too, one of the cool things that we have that's, like Steve was saying, it's what's really neat that kind of drives the youth is we have Clearwater. That spot down there at Clearwater, to have that quiet, low traffic, and able to let the kids develop the skills in the cycling. You know, you could do your beach starts and your running on all the nature paths and everything. But that area, Clearwater, and we have a little our triathlon building, our shed as we call it, which we get sponsorship to kind of keep it going. But that area, man, that's kind of like a great little spot to kind of do everything in a safe environment. But yeah, it's good, and the kids are, and you're getting them from a broad base. You know, there's now and then I was at the pool and I saw a couple of the kids that were running track for Pacers, and they were down there. I'm looking at the guy swim, I'm like, this kid's like amazing, like. And the variety of youth that we have that can take part in triathlon, and with the duathlon is good too, because that way we're not losing some of the youth that might think like, oh, I can't swim. Well, get out there and run and bike and run, you know. But that's a nice way to kind of get them going.
Right. Now, you started down, you know, the first triathlon that you won was Iron Kids down at Clearwater. How did you find the facility and being able to compete and train in that area?
Yeah, so that was the first triathlon I did at, I think I was 7 or 8 years old, so many years ago. But it's funny, of course, that's like 20 years ago, a bit more. But it's almost like the more things change, the more things stay the same. So whenever I'm back and Tri-Heads is on, I'll always pop down and go see the kids. And it's incredible that Neil Dissenklaw is still there, Chris Harkness is still there. They were there when I was growing up, sort of in my little era as a tri-heads. And still you get like 40 or 50 kids every Saturday. They're just excited to do triathlon. They come from a swimming background or a running background or whatever, and just there to have fun. And so it's really cool. So when I go back, I'm like, whoa, this is like exactly just as sort of I left it. And it's an incredible program. So, but I think also to take it one step back, triathlon has been quite successful, I think, in Bermuda, and has this nice broad base of people that do it, but it's also thanks to the Bermuda Triathlon Association, which Steve is president of. An incredibly well-run association that, I mean, puts on races throughout the year, and I think, you get to do a race, so like as kids, you love to go and race, and it's fun, and so there's probably like 4 or 5 different races that you can do throughout the summer, most of them at Clearwater, and that's really cool. Then the trips abroad, and then even for me at my level, when I was starting to race professionally, I mean, I had a lot of help, a lot from actually Steve's wife, Patty, getting me into the races, finding the loopholes and how I could get in because I'm from a small country. Oh, what funding am I available for from Bermuda? And there's so much of that out there, which I was benefited from, but that's largely from having a great association behind me that helped me, get in the door. And so I think it's not the same across all sports, which I really wish it could be, because it makes such a huge difference. And I think Erica Holley and Tyler Smith, they're benefiting from it. Even triathlon now being in Carifta, or is it Aquathon?
That's right.
A whole load of kids went there, and just getting that exposure at a young age is great, whether they pursue triathlon or not. It's just an incredible opportunity.
Yeah.
So.
And the duathlon on Friday night starts at what time for?
6:30.
6:30. So, okay. So like if you want to come and support our young athletes, 6:30 on Friday, after you knock off work, maybe grab a bite to eat and stay in town and cheer them on. Now, Steve, a lot of credit to the BTA for being able to bring the ITU, part of the series here. What did you guys have to do in order to bring last year's event, and what did you learn from last year's event that's helping make this one even better?
I think it was a guy named Phil Schmidt who's living here, married to a Bermudian, saw an RFP on the triathlon.org website in July of 2016, and he said, man, this could be a good thing for Bermuda with respect to tourism in particular. Flora, I don't think, was world champion then. She was in Xterra, but there was kind of the thought that this could be great. The Olympics were just about to happen. So we had events before here, Continental Cups, World Cups back in the 90s. So the old guard in the ITU knew about Bermuda. So Phil spoke to the Triathlon Association, and some of the board were like, you're crazy, you can't do it. And I think...
Crazy in what way?
Well, they thought it was just too big an undertaking, and it has been. But I think, we all worked together, and then he approached tourism, Bermuda Tourism Authority, and things just went from there. The bid was presented in December of 2016. A group went over to Madrid to a congress, the Triathlon Congress, presented it, and they were going for the grand final. The ITU said, no, first of all, you need to get your feet wet. We'll give you, the next grand final is in 2021, but we'll give you 3 World Triathlon Series, which is the highest, most prestigious event, for 18, 19, and 20. And I think that was really a good thing. I think if we had tried to do the grand final without any experience, we would have failed, because we've learned so much just last year, a year and a half ago, or a year ago, but a year and a half since the bid was made. Last year, I mean, Flora, I say the Flora factor. She made the event.
That's right.
She took it to the level that we saw. All of the ingredients were there for the course and all. Phil's idea was running up Burnaby Street was like an event in Stockholm. The cycling Corkscrew Hill was a bit like the Olympics in Rio. The swim in Bermuda waters is more beautiful than most swims in these WTS events. Hamburg or Leeds or
Yeah,
Yokohama.
like
They're
dirty.
not. They're not big.
Hamburg.
And so this event evolved, and the Triathlon Association provides sector heads for each sector, and then we work with tourism. We start meeting in September every other week, and then the past 6 weeks we've been meeting every week. We work with a company in Germany called Absolute Sports, who've had the rights to a number of WTS events, so they kind of bring a little more expertise in, and then working closely with the Tourism Authority. This year, way more prepared than last year, and that might sound like, well, last year was quite good, but there are a lot of things that we see behind the scenes we can make even better.
Right.
Next year will hopefully be again, and then we'll have a year and a half to the grand final, which is in October, early October 2021. And we're giving Flora lots of time to recover.
That's right.
No one was more heartbroken than I when I heard the news, because, as I say, there is the Flora factor in this race. And so, yeah, we're looking forward to this weekend. A lot, and Flora can talk more to this than I can, but we're now in the qualifying period for the Olympics next year. And last year we weren't. And last year the Commonwealth Games had just finished, so a number of Australian athletes weren't here. Wasn't Olympic qualifying. This year it is, and next year is the last race to qualify for the Olympics.
So it's
WTS
really
Bermuda.
important.
So this year
Very
and next year, plus a lot of the elite athletes, they want to race at least once or twice here before the grand final. So this year the field is very competitive, both male and female. It's a shame Flora isn't racing, because I think she would the dynamics of the race would be so different. We had someone who said, well, can't Flora even enter and just do the swim and bike? Don't say anything and pull out at the end of the bike. And I said, that would be, and Flora would be the first to admit, unsportsmanlike.
Yeah.
Because these athletes are all very close, they respect each other. She could get away on the bike, but she's one of the leaders out of the water. There's a couple of girls who could go with her that aren't quite the same runners, but get enough of a lead that they could win. Flora's not in the race and the run, and the other ones behind would be like, that's not fair. And I think we realized that it's so much better to have Flora in a team. It's going to be fun. She's going to do part of the course she's never done before, because the age group
the age group
extends out to the west to Pitts Bay Road, and to the east to Pomander Gate, whereas the elite races mostly Corkscrew Hill to Hamilton Princess and Reed and Front Street. So that'll be kind of fun. But yeah, no, I think we're on the way to good preparation to the grand final. Talking to a few cruise lines, we'll need more accommodation. We're talking about 5,000 athletes and companions. So we'll be upping our game again, and a cruise ship will, maybe it will leave New York. People from other countries can fly to New York, get on the cruise ship for 2 days, have some lectures about sport and nutrition. They'll be here for four days. They'll be right at the venue, compete, and then party back to New York.
Yeah, because I know they talked before, like for the America's Cup 2 years ago, they talked about possibly having cruise ships come in, but that never materialized. So this is something what percent do you think that's going to happen?
Well, we realized we had to start earlier. I think the America's Cup, in all fairness, maybe went a bit late, and then to sell it, like when we presented our bid to the board of triathlon in last September, one of the things, there was a concern with accommodation, and when we announced that we were working with cruise lines, they were like, how do we sign up? And so with plenty of notice, people will jump on that, whereas for the America's Cup, it was maybe late in the day when they realized a cruise ship could have helped with accommodation.
So how many people are we expecting to come here for the final?
I'd like to see 6,000, for a period of a week.
No, it's a big event, the grand final. I mean, so if you have the elite races, but then you add an under 23 race, you add in a junior race, and then in the age group, you have the sprint distance world championships and the age group world championships.
Yeah.
And it's just I mean, it
Yeah.
ranges from people from the 20 to 24 category all the way up to 80
80s,
plus,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
So,
5-year increments.
you know, it's triathlon overload,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's cool. It's
Yeah.
like a fun experience.
But the other thing is the age groupers, they also make a holiday of it.
Yes,
And
yeah.
they get to see this race for free, the best in the world, under 19, as Flora said, under 23,
Yeah.
and then open.
And then with the families and I mean, in Brisbane, I think there was close to 6,000 athletes. So that was just the athletes. Then let alone the families and everything that travel with them. And you'll definitely see it kind of like kind of spread out in terms of like all the different activities that the families want to do. The athletes are there focusing on their Olympic distance or sprint and so on, and the families are out doing other
Water
things.
skiing.
Water skiing with Kent.
Yeah. But there's so much that can be done, like, to try and like drive business and help the economy and everything. And it's going to be amazing. 5,000 to 6,000 athletes. That's a lot of bikes on the roads. So we'll be working, letting people know that, hey guys, be a bit more traffic on the road and 20, 30, 40 bikes cycling at different times of the day. And I think Steve mentioned that we'll be telling a lot of the age groupers to ride in a different direction just to avoid, rush hour times and so on.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good. It's a win-win either way.
Now, how many age group championships have you competed in?
I've competed in, maybe 8, 9, 10 or so of them. Yeah, over the years, and I had a good result in Cozumel. That was my best. I was for a while there. I was top 10. I ended up getting 11. But I'm very happy.
I can't give you those results, but I've probably been, the first one was 1989, and myself, Greg Hopkins, Julia
Wow,
Hawley,
you were the first.
Peggy Cooper, and a guy named James Cooper, who's an artist. We went to Avignon, France. That was the
83,
the first,
isn't it?
89.
89.
1989.
Oh, 89,
And
yeah.
I've probably been to 20
Yeah.
since then. But I use it for my wife and I, it's like a vacation afterwards to all kinds of great places in the world.
Yeah.
And we've got to know, I mean, I think Bermuda has a good reputation in the ITU, and we've always tried to nurture that. So I think it helped us with our bid.
Right.
And Flora, I think, was a big part
A
of
little
that.
bit, because you were starting to ascend. You did well 2015.
Yeah.
And then 2016 was.
Yeah, it all kind of worked very perfectly with my sort of rise up in the ITU. So.
Yeah, so when they announced it, I meant to mention this. The bid was put in 2016 December. Flora then won the World Championships in Cozumel.
Yeah, like
That's
2
right.
months prior, 2
Yeah.
months before
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was great.
So that, just, where is this Bermuda? A little place
Yeah,
of
yeah,
60,000
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But they produced this world champion. And then she wins it the next year in
Yeah.
Rotterdam.
Yeah.
And that really, started people thinking.
Now,
Yeah.
you're not competing this year. You've seen the field on the ladies' side. Who would you say would be some of the favorites, and maybe who could take, not maybe as well as you Corkscrew Hill, but somebody who might be able to use that to their advantage?
Yeah, there's a lot of good women here this year. The favorite, I would say, would be Katie Zafiris. She won in Abu Dhabi, which was the opening race to the series 7 weeks ago. This is a really great course for her. She was third here last year. I think Vicky just nipped her at the line at their really exciting sprint finish. So her, then of course Vicky Holland, she's the reigning world champion. And then you have someone I think that's Ashley Gentle from Australia. She wasn't here last year, so that's great to have her. And then you have a really talented young French girl, Cassandra Beaugrand. She's racing here for the first time. She's very young and I think has a really great career ahead of her. So it'd be exciting to see how she mixes it up there with the likes of Vicky and Katie. There's a couple other really strong Brits here. Jessica Learmonth, Georgia Taylor Brown, there's like 7 Americans in the field, which is, don't really know how they got 7 spots, but so it's a good field on the women's side. And also this year, a lot of the bigger countries are competing for their Olympic slots. So for example, I said there's 7 Americans in this race, but for the Olympics, they only get 3 slots. And so they all have 1 or 2 qualifying races this year. So for them, this is a really important year. So every race they can do is sort of like helping them build fitness, trying to get good results. So there's lots of like sort of internal dynamics going within the races this year, which is quite cool. And then on the men's side, you have Javier Gomez, who's a 5-time ITU world champion. He's coming back. He didn't race, I don't think he raced any ITU last year. He actually switched to long course briefly, raced in Kona last year at the Ironman World Championships. But I think it's decided he prefers the short course racing. So he's here, which is a huge, huge name in the men's field.
He wants to race for Spain in the Olympics next year. So I think he's trying to now accumulate points and get back his world ranking.
And he had a nice little kick out there, smash out a couple of weeks ago in New Zealand. He kind of mixes it up with the boys there coming into the line. I think he got third.
He was World Cup, which is 1-2 now.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So for our viewers, part of the thing is like, it's not one race determines you qualifying for the Olympics. It's
a
series.
It's a whole series and drawn out process. So for some countries, they'll select 2 races this year, and it'll be, I think maybe if you finish in the top 6 or on the podium, you get your Olympic slot in both of those races. So it's quite a lot of pressure for this year, and then you have to go into next year, which is the Olympic year, which is even more pressure to try to perform. So it's quite difficult if you are from like the US or from Great Britain, that have a lot of girls vying for these spots.
Yeah. So how do some countries qualify for more than 2 spots? What do they have to do?
It's all dependent on how many athletes you have ranked in the top 125 in the world, I believe. So, for example, the US, they have probably like, I don't know, 10 or 12 girls ranked in the top 125. So do they need points?
There's about 4 or 5 countries that get 3. I think Spain, US, Britain,
Australia,
Canada, maybe Mexico, and then there's a couple of countries that get 2.
Yeah.
And then, so what happens is if there are 12 in the top 120, those other 9 get pushed to the side, and people move up. So conceivably, for the Pan Am Games coming up in Lima, Peru in July, Erica Hawley and Tyler Smith are qualifying out of 30. They're at 23 and 25 in the simulation. They might be a little lower in the world, but because of the Pan Am countries, so at the moment they have a spot. We'll find out for sure next week, but the chances are good. There's only 35 men and women competing in the triathlon, so they keep 30 to 33 for wild cards. You know, Flora and Tyler Butterfield in their day were lucky to get in a couple of events maybe a wild card, and then the last 2 spots, 34 and 35, are for the host country, Peru. So that's the way it'll work. So potentially Tyler Smith, for example, he's probably 120, like Flora was saying, but when you take out all the countries that have more than 3 or more than 2,
their excess
he
quota,
moves up. And so there's 55 men and 55 women in the Olympics, as there is here in this field. 55 men. The men was oversubscribed. There were 70 odd on the list. The women was at sort of 60, but then when some realized they weren't going to get in, they went to other races, maybe of lesser importance. But their chances of getting in 3 or 4 weeks ago was just remote, so they didn't know Flora was going to. And to Flora's, the ITU is very strict about that. She had to let them know well in advance. There's a penalty if you don't, because you're holding a spot and someone's on the wait list. It's unfair if you're not going to race, that you need to let them know so that person can then. There have been athletes that have been known to come to Bermuda knowing that the race is full and there's a waiting list, and then something happens, they get sick a day before. That's how competitive it is to get into a race. So the Olympics, Tyler Smith and Erica, you never know. They're still quite young, but with the simulation and when you take out the bigger countries are only allowed 2 and 3, they move up and it could happen. Tyler Butterfield, I think, was 18 in Athens, and he sort of got in. He ended up 35th out of 50 at the time, which was very creditable. But I think in the simulation he was 100. But with all those
all the strikeouts. And
that's right.
Suddenly you find yourself.
Realistically, what are the chances of us having, let's say, more than one triathlete in the Olympics in Japan?
Oof, I haven't studied the
simulation
simulation enough,
but I think,
or even know where their world rankings are. It's possible. I mean, a large part of it is determined how well Tyler and Erica race over the next 12 months.
And that's Tyler Smith.
Yes.
Because quite often we associate Tyler with Butterfield. So Tyler Smith.
Tyler Smith, yeah. Yeah, a large part depends on how they race. So it's not impossible.
Credit to both of them too. They're carrying full university, as Florida did, full university loads, which is about to end for the summer, and they have a real busy schedule ahead of them. They're both doing a number of World Cup races, and in anticipation of getting into the Pan Am Games, which we'll know next week. But I wouldn't be surprised if they both really equip themselves well at Pan Am's at the end of July, and the sky's the limit.
Yeah,
really,
that's right.
they're part of the ITU has what they call an ASICS training program, which they've both been identified. They had some sponsorship last year. This year they're both doing. Tyler, I know, is doing a race in Russia in June, and I think Erica's deciding between one in Monterey, I think, or I think she's going to go to but her ASICS scholarship one she's going to do in Monterey, and then do the same race the following week in Russia. So there's lots of avenues, and I think both of those kids, I call them, they're junior adults now, are to be commended for their efforts. And one is in Leeds in the UK, which is the Center for Excellence there for triathlon, and Erica's in Boulder, Colorado at university. So getting the best training conditions.
Yeah,
that's right.
But it's interesting. Back in 2006 was the first year of that. It wasn't the ASICS development team back then, but it was the first year of the ITU development team, and I was one of the first founding members of it. And so it was Lisa Norden, who went on to win a silver medal at the Olympics and multiple world titles. And obviously I won a couple world titles. Another Barbara Rivera's from Chile, she's also won a couple world titles. So it's quite cool that you're from these small countries and you're sort of there by yourself, and they created this team, and we got a few resources and sort of what we've gone on to achieve. I think it's like quite inspiring for either those that are on the team now to show that you're from a little small country, but it doesn't mean you can't be the next.
So when you go to an event, one of these events, you share in all the different amenities that you need, like whether it's massage or a mechanical coaching, even
coaching. They have different. They have
just a mentor, someone to guide you for a young person, sort of competing in these higher ranked races, having somebody. Some of them, they might be from Kazakhstan or somewhere, and it just gives them a little bit more confidence and familiarity.
When we have all these athletes from all over the world here, they have like interpreters with them, or do most of them speak English? You would know. How does that work with making sure the directions are all communicated?
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I know the little Japanese girl, Ida, Yuri. And I rode with her yesterday coming out of the dockyard, and showed did the entertainment ride that you and I did before. And we're yipping away, and when you see her, she made the podium a few times. They call her the little pocket rocket. She'd be phenomenal to watch. And her English, sometimes when she's having a little interview, but it's amazing how much these guys do know. And the majority of them, apart from maybe a few of the Japanese athletes, but for the most part, they get by very well. They can communicate they're traveled enough around as pros to know how to, maybe some of the people from South America sometimes. Last year we had the couple of people from Colombia. They were just a little bit, but for the majority of the time, they
with his hands.
But yes, but yeah, they.
Now, when you're traveling on the world circuit, who travels with you to help? What's your entourage?
My entourage is very small. Up until probably about 2 years ago, I went to a lot of races on my own. So my parents would come to a couple; they would like to watch. But I went on my own because I didn't have the money, the sponsorship, the funding to have, or the resources to have a coach come with me, or a mechanic, or anything like that. From a big federation like the US and Great Britain, they have entourages. They have people for people. It's crazy.
So true.
But I didn't have
But
any
like
of
Team
that.
Sky.
Yeah. But obviously now
Made you tougher.
I'm a lot more. You did make you tougher. It was some scary days out there.
Had me
Just
out there
flying.
yelling.
Yeah, Kent was there.
Most of the time,
luckily Kent would be at a
I was
few
at a lot
races.
of the places we were at the same.
But it's tough. But luckily, I'm in a place where my husband Dan, he can travel with me to every race, so he kind of comes along as my coach. He's not really my coach in, I was going to say real life, but in my training, he obviously is very involved. He used to do triathlon, so it's great he can join me, which is a huge, huge help. And now with my sponsor Specialized, they send a bike mechanic to every race, Sandy, so he's there to deal with my bike if it turns up broken or needs a new part or I forgot to pack something, which is great. So it's a small team of us, basically Dan, and then we've got Sandy, and but that's about it. Commonwealth Games was a little bit different. That was quite luxurious.
Yeah.
We had Steve was there, Dan was there.
Yeah, the Commonwealth Games, and all kudos to Dan. He was a big part of the relay team. I was the manager, he was the coach, and so the two younger, Tyler Smith and Erica Hawley, and then Flora and Tyler Butterfield, it was a day to remember. As much as Flora's gold medal was the highlight, the team relay, where Bermuda came fifth out of some, and was ahead of some well-known triathlon countries. But Dan was so great in the days preceding that. We'd meet for dinner and we'd talk about the strategy and who should go where on the team, and so he was a very calming influence, but also great for the two younger kids to sort of be in that environment.
And I think like the Triathlon Association deserves kudos because you had 4 athletes that were world class enough to compete as a team at the Pan Am. Commonwealth, sorry.
Yeah.
And like there were a lot of other countries that couldn't field 4 athletes.
Sure, that's right.
Yeah.
And
Maybe a lot bigger.
And we got an award for that at the Sports Awards for a team, but
Sports citation.
Yeah. No, it was an incredible achievement.
Now, a lot of people, they only want to remember the glory years, which is the last couple of seasons for you when you reached the top. What was it like when you were first out on the circuit and you were just trying to make it? How much different was it from there to that?
Well, it's worlds apart from starting between the ages of, 18 and 24, and then sort of from 28 to 31 where I am now. Very different. It's brutal at the start. It's very hard. But as I mentioned earlier, I was lucky to benefit from, learning about funding that's allocated to me from here because I'm from a small country, or this and that. But no, I traveled the world alone and showed up at these races, and some would go well, and then others I'd finish 40th and wonder why I'm doing this. But slowly but surely just kind of stuck at it and had had a few good results along the way that kept me going.
But this year the World Championships are in Lausanne, Switzerland, and in 2006, Flora, as an 18-year-old, was second in the under 19 elite.
Yeah.
But 2006 was also the Commonwealth Games in Melbourne, Australia. Flora's her first Olympic distance event, and she came off the bike with the leaders, basically. And there was this, they couldn't believe, who is this 18-year-old girl
Yeah.
It was
mixing
like
it up
this-
with the
yeah.
Australians and the Brits.
Yeah.
I remember in Melbourne, where the event was in St Kilda, which was south of Melbourne, the water was really muddy, and Flora, there's a picture that was in the newspaper, Flora coming out of the water, and her face actually had sort of muddy water on it and
Yeah.
this grit. And to look back now
Yeah.
and remember that was really incredible. And I think you went on not long after that to come fifth in a World Cup in Portugal.
In Spain.
Yeah, in Spain.
In Spain,
Yeah, I
yeah.
raced in, later that year I was top 10 in Hamburg in the
Hamburg,
World Cup.
yeah.
And then, the following year I was fourth or fifth. Yeah,
Fifth
fifth
in
maybe, in Portugal. As an 18, 19-year-old, so.
And you ran
That's
35,
a
you
lot.
broke 36, you
Yeah.
ran 35, 35,
There's a
35,
video
35,
there,
40,
yeah.
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 Cranking it.
Yes.
That was good.
So,
Wow.
Now, for people's awareness, so far on Saturday, roads are going to be starting to be closed, or Friday, or
In the area where the race course is for the age group, which, as I said, is out as far as Pitts Bay and as far as Pomander Gate, the roads will close at 4 in the morning till around 11:30, and then the roads will open up, and the only thing that will be closed till 8 p.m. are Front Street from the Johnny Barnes roundabout to BF&M, and then Reed Street from, I guess it's Lane Hill, and Queen Street, and I think, Church Street is open again. So, there's lots of ways to get it. There'll be some park and rides. I think the Arboretum and Camden, places like that. The ferries will be running. I know a lot of people last year who they said it was great coming in on the ferry. You were right at the venue from the west, sort of. The bus service will continue to run. The transportation board has been very easy to work with. They're actually, part of the age group race goes down through the bus terminal, so the bus terminal will actually be on Cedar Avenue for Saturday morning, which is really great. People, though, there's trybermuda.com is a website which has a lot of that. There have been different pieces of print media going out in the local daily and in the various
there was
media.
I think there was a press release today about road closures
Yes.
and traffic advisories.
So there is a fair amount of information out there. There's a spectator guide I think there were 11,000 of them printed, and there's still going out at various places. One of the things that I would like to really stress is and thank the Bermuda public for volunteering. It's really been gratifying. We had 2 training sessions a week ago Saturday and a week ago Monday at Warwick Academy, and the turnout was incredible.
How many people did you have turn out?
Well, we had about 150 both days. I think to be successful, we need around 500 volunteers, and I think we're close to that. We can always use more, and not for the elite races. We're oversubscribed in the afternoon. It's the morning.
It's the morning,
I mean, it's a hard call to get to be there sort of by the race. First race starts, I think, at 7 on Saturday morning, because we got a lot of age groupers to get through. So by sort of 11:30, everything is finished for age groups, and then we just have to redesign a bit the course for the elites, and the men start at 1:06. Don't ask me why. I think it's for television.
TV,
Oh, yeah.
viewing or
That's
whatever.
right.
They have to have their preliminaries.
it's always so weird when we're like
Yeah.
106.
106.
Okay.
And then the female race at 4:06. And then there's a big street sort of fair from the birdcage sort of down to the beach, almost like a Harbor Nights Saturday after the race at 6:30 to whenever people want to leave. And then there's a prize giving for athletes and all volunteers at the Princess Hotel on Saturday night at 7. They do present the awards to the elites at the venue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're having a special Harbor Nights tomorrow night rather than
Thursday, yes, Wednesday
instead of
night.
tonight.
Yeah.
And a great opening ceremony. We've got a lot of the young, well-known young athletes from different sports, not just triathlon. leading the parade of sort of nations. They'll all have flags of the countries that are here. I think Flora's going to be
I'll be
there for that.
yeah.
And, it'll be a great occasion with Harbor Nights, and there'll be sort of a parade in and a few speeches. And then on Friday night, we kick off. I think the Front Street closes at 5:30. Kids race started at 6:30. Last year, we had 221 kids. We're hoping to go better than that this year.
Do we have children from overseas as well?
No,
It's just,
no.
just
Just locally, but that's
Mostly
amazing
locals, yeah.
locally.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
an interesting point. Maybe
That's
that's,
right.
we
Well,
should,
Yeah.
because families will travel. I mean, it's a free event to watch, the elite race. It's not- you don't have to pay to go into Madison Square Garden or Giant Stadium. You can see this free sporting event.
Yeah.
Which
And the kids can take
yeah.
part, yeah.
No, which
That's it.
brings me to the point. Good spectating advantage points. Now I know a lot of people love Corkscrew Hill,
Yeah.
just because some people are a little bit sadist and they just want to see the suffer as they go off it. But what are some other good vantage points that you feel?
Well, this year, Elko is sponsoring a fan zone at the top of Corkscrew Hill in the Avocado Lodge. That's a big field there, so there'll be a big screen TV, fun castles and stuff, and food for kids and families. So that will make that area even more advantageous. And
That's an improvement from last year.
Yeah, all along the way, I think Flora will probably tell you the top of Burnaby Hill where they run up
Yeah.
there, and then also coming back into
Yeah.
town on the bike. So that's a good area there.
You can
Of course,
catch them both ways, yeah.
all
Yeah.
along Front Street. You'll see them 10 times on the bike on Front Street and 8 times on the run because they go down and then back.
Yeah.
There's a international fan zone, I think, near the Cenotaph, that area.
And what will that have?
There'll be flags from all the different countries, and if you're German and the German team is coming by, they'll try and rally the troops there. Some of the schools, I think Flora last year was down on East Broadway, Warwick.
They were,
Your alma
yeah.
mater was
Yeah.
really
Warwick
big.
Academy was there at the U-turn just before you take the ride up to Corkscrew Hill, which is very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's loads of great
There's
places
lots,
to watch.
yeah.
Not really, because of the loop course, kind of wherever you are, you're going to see athletes every 5 minutes.
And Burnaby is kind of fun because you can, like you say, you see them coming down Reed Street and you just walk down the hill and then watch them come along Front Street and all that little turning. And then, of course, you can see the finish as they're coming down for the run. And
Well, I know like the bars and the restaurants were very thankful because it was an uptick in business.
Yeah.
Everyone perched out on the balconies.
Yeah, that was cool having a few drinks watching the triathlon.
Yeah, and then
on top of that,
we didn't get a lot of good high marks from the retail stores. We did from the restaurant division because people are in Hamilton from morning till night, really, eating, using the restaurants. So there's a special shopping day this year. Some retailers are actually not going to open on Saturday and open on Sunday. There's a number of draw prizes. If you shop at any of the stores that participate, you'll be eligible for travel vouchers, store vouchers. Parking will be free, and we'll clean City Hall up Saturday night, which is the transition for the age group race, but it will be completely open at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning for free parking. So there's an added sort of sequence to this that Sundays we're hoping is going to be a shopping day, and locals
really
will
good.
come in and support the local retailers.
That's good. Oh, and the retail sales have been down for probably
Yeah.
11 months in a row, so any little extra boost could be appreciated.
yes.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get ready to wrap up, and I just want to give everyone a final chance to say something about the triathlon. Come out and participate. Well, not participate by cheering people on.
Yeah.
But Kent, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I would just say to the public, get out there, and especially it's early in the morning, but it'll be fun to get out there and support the age groupers in the morning. It's early, but please come out and yell, and of course, if you see me, tell me go faster. If Flora's ahead of me, tell me where she is. But really, come out and support it. It's like great, and then of course in the afternoon you're going to be treated to something really special. So yes, please come out.
My two things would be to thank the sponsors. Without them, we couldn't do this, and also the volunteers. I think those are we need athletes, of course, but you can have the best athletes in the world if you don't have the volunteers
yeah.
and the support of Bermuda, then we couldn't do it. So thanks to them.
Flora?
Yeah, I also want to say thank you to all the sponsors, everyone on the organizing committees, all the volunteers, for making last year happen and for doing it again this year. Like, the work that goes behind the scenes is ridiculous, so thank you to everyone there. And just call out for people to volunteer for the age group race. Be a fun way to spend a Saturday morning, definitely a different way to spend a Saturday morning. Giving back to the community, plugging into a really exciting atmosphere. You get to watch me race, get to watch Kent race, get to watch me beat Kent. So that'll be pretty fun. And just thankful that this event is taking part. Thank you to everyone in Bermuda for allowing triathlon to just sort of take over Bermuda for this week. It's really, really special.
All right, well, I want to thank my guests. We had Kent Richardson, Steve Petty, Flora Duffy. I'm Don Burgess. We hope you all come out and participate in one way or another, either by shopping or cheering or volunteering in the MS Amlin Triathlon Bermuda. We all hope you have a Bermudaful afternoon and a great Bermudaful weekend.